The great Nexus station floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Its arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than most planets. Lights blinked along its surface like stars, and ships moved around it like tiny insects. Inside the station, the main council room was huge. The ceiling went up so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. Seats were arranged in circles, each one made for a different type of alien being. Some seats were filled with water for the fish-like beings. Others had special air for creatures that breathed different gases. Today was an important day. Representatives from 47 different alien races had come to the monthly meeting. They talked about trade routes, settled fights between planets, and made decisions that affected billions of beings across the galaxy. Overlord Thexmar sat in his special chair. He was big, with 4 arms and skin that looked like metal. His people, the Vexari, controlled the largest military force in the galaxy. When he spoke, others listened. When he was angry, entire planets worried. The mining rights in the outer rim are still causing problems, said Secretary Veltar, a thin creature with purple skin and 3 eyes. The Cathera want more territory. The Cathera representative made a clicking sound with her mouth parts. She looked like a giant ant walking on 2 legs. Our colonies need resources. The current borders are not fair. Fair? Thexmar laughed, a sound like metal scraping metal. You should be happy with what you have. Remember who keeps the peace in this galaxy. Other aliens nodded quickly. Nobody wanted to make the Vexari angry. Their warships were the biggest and strongest. Their weapons could destroy whole cities. For 300 years they had kept order in the galaxy their way. What about the trade dispute near the spiral arm? Asked another alien, this one looking like a floating jellyfish made of gas. Still talking about the same boring things, muttered Counselor Hexavi to her neighbor. She had blue skin and 4 arms. Nothing interesting ever happens anymore. That was when the communication system made a loud beeping sound. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a young alien with strange features. The creature had only 2 arms, 2 legs, and weird hair on top of its head. Its skin was brown and it wore a uniform that nobody recognized. Greetings, the creature said in clear Galactic standard language. My name is Captain Li Wu Jin of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride. I represent a species called humans. We wish to speak with your council. The room went quiet. Then slowly laughter began to spread. It started with small chuckles and grew into loud laughter that echoed off the walls. Another primitive species, said Thexmar, wiping tears from his eyes. Look at it, only 2 arms, how does it even function? And that hair, laughed the Kithera representative. What purpose does it serve? Captain Li Wu Jin waited calmly for the laughter to stop. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes were alert. He watched each alien carefully as if he was studying them. We request permission to dock at your station, he continued. We bring an offer of friendship and trade between our species and yours. Where do you come from, little creature? Asked Secretary Veltar, still smiling. A planet called Earth. In what you call the Dark Zone, Li Wu Jin replied. We have recently developed space travel and wish to join the galactic community. More laughter filled the room. The Dark Zone was an area of space that the Council had marked as empty. Their long-range scanners had never found anything interesting there. It was considered worthless space, full of small rocks and dying stars. The Dark Zone, wheezed Hexavi. Nothing lives there. The radiation levels would kill any intelligent life. And yet, here we are, said Li Wu Jin quietly. Thexmar stood up, his 4 arms spread wide. Little human, do you know who you are talking to? This is the Galactic Council. We rule over thousands of worlds and trillions of beings. We have technology that your species cannot even imagine. I am sure you do. Li Wu Jin nodded politely. However, we would still like to speak with you face to face. Face to face? Thexmar's eyes narrowed. You want to come here? To our station? Yes. We are already on our way. This caused a stir in the council room. Several aliens began talking at once. New species usually sent messages for months before being allowed to visit. They had to prove they were worth the council's time. Impossible, said Secretary Veltar. Our sensors would have detected your ship days ago if you were close enough. Perhaps your sensors are not as good as you think, said Li Wujin. The insult hung in the air like smoke. Nobody talked to the Galactic Council like that. Nobody questioned their technology. Thexmar's face turned a darker shade of metal gray. You dare to insult us? He roared. We should destroy your pathetic ship right now. That would be unfortunate, said Li Wujin, still calm. But that is your choice to make. Before anyone could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed and a voice spoke over the communication system. Alert. Unknown vessel approaching. Alert. Unknown vessel approaching. The council members looked at each other in confusion. Their space around Nexus Station was protected by the most advanced detection systems in the galaxy. Nothing could approach without being seen hours in advance. A technician ran into the room, his 6 legs moving quickly. Overlord Thexmar. A ship has appeared on our sensors. It came from nowhere. What do you mean from nowhere? Thexmar demanded. One moment our screens were empty. The next moment, there was a massive ship only 1 hour away from the station. On the big screen at the front of the room, an image appeared. It showed a ship unlike anything the council had ever seen. It was long and sleek, with a dark hull that seemed to absorb light. Strange markings covered its surface and it moved through space with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. By the ancient stars, whispered Hexavi. What is that thing? The ship was huge, but it moved like a small fighter. Its design was completely alien to galactic standards. Where most ships were built with simple, practical shapes, this vessel looked like it had been crafted by artists who understood both beauty and war. That, said Captain Li Wujin from the hologram, is the Soul's Pride. May we dock? The council room was completely silent. 47 different species, each with their own ideas about technology and space travel, all stared at the screen in wonder. The ship on the display was clearly more advanced than anything they had in their fleets. Overlord Thexmar sat down, heavily in his chair. For the first time in his long life, he was looking at something that made him feel small. Request permission to dock, came a new voice over the communication system. This time it was a woman's voice speaking with the same calm confidence as the captain. This is Commander Kim Tae-ho of the Soul's Pride. We are prepared to wait for your response. Secretary Veltar looked around the room with his 3 eyes, waiting for someone to make a decision. But nobody spoke. They were all too busy staring at the impossible ship that had appeared from the empty darkness of space, carrying creatures that called themselves humans. The galaxy, it seemed, was about to change. The docking bay of Nexus Station had never been so crowded. Aliens from dozens of species pressed against the viewing windows, trying to get a look at the strange human ship. The Soul's Pride sat in the massive docking port like a sleeping giant. Its dark hull reflected no light, making it look like a piece of the void itself had taken shape. Traffic controller Zixno had 8 arms and usually used all of them when ships docked. Today he was confused. His instruments could not read the human ship properly. The mass readings kept changing. The energy levels made no sense. The hull material was unknown to his computers. What kind of metal is this? He muttered, scratching his head with 2 arms while working controls with the others. My scanners say it's there, but also not there. How is that possible? Inside the Soul's Pride, Captain Li Wujin walked through the corridors with steady steps. His crew moved around him with quiet efficiency. They all wore the same dark blue uniforms with strange symbols on the chest. Captain, said Dr. Park, so young, holding a data pad in her hands. She was shorter than the captain, with long black hair tied back neatly. I have finished reading the files about the alien species we will meet. Some of them might try to test us. What kind of tests? Asked Li Wujin. Strength tests. Intelligence tests. They want to see if we are worth their time. She looked worried. The Vexari especially like to show their power to new species. Let them try, said Commander Kim Tae-ho. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and watchful eyes. Our ship has capabilities they cannot imagine. We are not here to fight. said Ambassador Choi Hee-jin firmly. She was an older woman with gray hair and a kind face, but her voice was strong. We represent all of humanity. We must be careful. The captain nodded. We will be polite, but we will not bow to anyone. The docking process took longer than usual. The station's computers had trouble connecting to the human ship systems. Finally, with help from the Soul's Pride's crew, the connection was made. Docking complete, announced a voice over the ship's communication system. All systems secure. The delegation may proceed. Captain Lee Woo-jin led his team toward the airlock. Dr. Park So-young carried her data pad and a small bag of Earth, items to show the aliens. Commander Kim Tae-ho walked with his hand near his weapon, not threatening, but ready. Ambassador Choi Hye-jin held herself straight and proud. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it was a long corridor filled with aliens. Some looked almost human, but with extra arms or different colored skin. Others were completely strange, like walking plants or floating gas clouds. "Welcome to Nexus Station," said Secretary Veltar, approaching with his 3 eyes blinking nervously. "Please follow me to the council chamber." As they walked, the humans drew stares from every direction. Alien children pointed and whispered. Adult aliens took pictures with strange devices. Some aliens stepped back as if afraid, while others moved closer to get a better look. "They seem very interested in us," said Dr. Park So-young quietly. "Too interested," muttered Commander Kim Tae-ho. His eyes moved constantly, watching for threats. The council chamber was even bigger than it had looked on the communication screen. The ceiling disappeared into shadows above. The walls were covered with symbols from hundreds of different alien languages. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Overlord Thexmar sat in his large chair, watching the humans approach. His forearms were crossed and his metal-like skin reflected the lights. Other council members leaned forward in their seats, studying every move the humans made. "So," said Thexmar in a voice like grinding gears, "these are the humans from the Dark Zone." "We are," said Ambassador Choi Hee-jin, stepping forward. "Thank you for allowing us to visit your station." "You did not wait for permission," pointed out Counselor Hexavi. "You simply announced you were coming." "We meant no disrespect," Choi Hee-jin replied calmly. "We wanted to show that humans are serious about joining the galactic community." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others buzzed or whistled. The Kithera representative tapped her feet on the floor in what might have been amusement. "Join the galactic community?" said Thexmar. "Little human, do you understand what that means? There are rules. There are levels. New species must prove themselves worthy." "How do they prove themselves?" asked Dr. Park So-young. "First, they must show they understand their place," said Secretary Veltar. "They must accept guidance from older, wiser species. They must learn our ways." "And if they refuse?" asked Commander Kim Tae-ho. The chamber went quiet. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Thexmar leaned forward, his eyes glowing with a red light. "Species that refuse to follow the rules do not last long in this galaxy," he said. Slowly. Captain Lee Woo-jin had been silent until now. He stepped forward and somehow his presence filled the huge room. "We come in peace," he said, his voice carrying clearly to every corner of the chamber. "We offer friendship and trade. We wish to learn about your cultures and share our own." "Good," said Thexmar, sitting back. "That is the proper attitude." "However," Lee Woo-jin continued, "we will not be anyone's servants. We will not accept rules made without our voice. We seek partnership, not submission." The laughter stopped. Aliens looked at each other with surprise. New species were supposed to be grateful just to be noticed. They were supposed to beg for acceptance. "You misunderstand your situation," said Hexavi coldly. "You have one small ship. We have fleets that could darken your sun." "One small ship," agreed Lee Woo-jin. "But perhaps you should ask yourself how that one small ship appeared next to your station without your sensors detecting it." This caused worried murmurs throughout the chamber. The station's detection systems were supposed to be perfect. Nothing should have been able to approach unnoticed. "A lucky trick," said Thexmar, but his voice was less certain than before. "Was it?" asked Dr. Park So-young innocently. She opened her bag and pulled out a small device. It looked simple, like a child's toy. But when she activated it, it projected a three-dimensional map of the entire station. The map showed things that should have been impossible to know. It displayed the location of every weapon system, every shield generator, every power source. It even showed the aliens sitting in the council chamber. "How did you get this information?" demanded Secretary Veltar. "Our ship's sensors are quite good," said Dr. Park So-young, putting the device away. "Impossible," said the Kithara representative. "Our security systems would have detected any scanning attempt." "Would they?" asked Commander Kim Tae-ho. Overlord Thexmar stood up, his forearms spreading wide. "Are you threatening us?" "Not at all," said Captain Lee Woo-jin. "We are simply showing that humans are not as helpless as you might think." "You have one ship," repeated Hexavi. "One ship against our entire fleet." "One ship you know about," corrected Commander Kim Tae-ho. Before anyone could ask what he meant, alarms began ringing again throughout the station. The same technician from before ran into the chamber, his 6 legs moving even faster than last time. "Overlord, more ships, multiple contacts appearing on our sensors." "What?" Thexmar roared. "How many?" 12, sir. No, wait. 15. They're coming from different directions." On the main screen, new images appeared. More human ships, each. One different from the Soul's Pride, but clearly built by the same people. They moved through space with the same impossible grace, their dark hulls seeming to bend light around them. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in dozens of different languages. Some demanded military action. Others called for immediate negotiation. Through it all, the 4 humans stood calmly in the center of the room. They showed no surprise at the arrival of more ships. They had been expecting this. "Did you think," said Captain Lee Woo-jin, his voice cutting through the noise, "that Earth would send only one ship to make first contact with an entire galaxy?" Ambassador Choi Hye-jin stepped forward again. "We come in peace," she said firmly. "But we come prepared. We hope you will choose friendship, but we are ready for whatever you choose." Overlord Thexmar sat down heavily. His metal skin had turned a darker shade. For the first time in centuries, the Vexari military leader was Kor, looking at a force he could not easily defeat. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "To talk," said Choi Hye-jin simply. "As equals." The word equals hung in the air like a challenge. No new species had ever used that word before the Galactic Council. But looking at the screen showing the human fleet, none of the aliens could argue with it. The galaxy was indeed about to change. The council chamber had been quiet for 10 minutes. Overlord Thexmar stared at the screens showing the human fleet. 15 ships floated in perfect formation around Nexus Station. They made no threatening moves, but their presence changed everything. "This is unprecedented," whispered Secretary Veltar. His 3 eyes blinked rapidly as he tried to understand what was happening. 15 ships, said Counselor Hexavi. All unknown design, all more advanced than anything in our databases. Captain Lee Woo-jin and his team waited patiently in the center of the chamber. They showed no fear, no excitement. They simply stood there like people waiting for a bus. Finally, Thexmar stood up. His forearms moved as he paced around his chair. The metal plates of his skin scraped against each other with each step. "You think you can come here and demand respect?" he said, pointing at the humans. "You think your ships scare us?" "We hope they do not," said Ambassador Choi Hye-jin calmly. "We prefer peace." "Peace?" Thexmar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Every species says they want peace. Then they try to take what belongs to others. We want nothing that belongs to you," said Captain Lee Woo-jin. "Prove it," said Thexmar suddenly. The other council members looked surprised. Even the humans seemed curious about what he meant. "Prove what?" asked Dr. Park So-young. Prove that you are worthy of speaking to us as equals, Thexmar said. We have a test. Every new species must pass it to show they belong in the galactic community. Commander Kim Tae-ho stepped closer to his captain. What kind of test? He asked. The Trial of Stars, said Secretary Veltar. It is an old tradition. New species must show their skill in space combat and navigation. Combat? Ambassador Choi Hye-jin frowned. We said we come in peace. It is not real combat, explained Hexavi. Your ship must navigate through the Broken Ring asteroid field while defending against automated defense drones. It tests piloting skill, weapon accuracy, and tactical thinking. And if we refuse? Asked Captain Lee Woo-jin. Thexmar smiled, showing teeth like metal spikes. Then you prove you are too weak to survive in this galaxy. We will mark your system as off-limits and forget you exist. The humans looked at each other. Dr. Park So-young whispered something to the captain. Commander Kim Tae-ho nodded slightly. Ambassador Choi Hye-jin kept her face blank. What happens to species that fail the test? Asked Lee Woo-jin. Most fail on their first try, said Veltar. We give them chances to improve. Eventually some pass. And those that never pass, they learn their place, said Thexmar simply. Captain Lee Woo-jin was quiet for a long moment. The entire chamber waited for his answer. Through the viewing windows, the human fleet remained motionless, like sleeping predators. We accept, he said finally. Several aliens gasped. New species usually asked for time to prepare, or tried to negotiate easier terms. They did not simply accept the most difficult test the Council could offer. Excellent, said Thexmar, clapping his four hands. Together. The test will begin in 1 hour. Your ship against our best defense systems. Just to be clear, said Commander Kim Tae-ho, what are the rules? Simple, said Hexavi. Navigate through the asteroid field without hitting anything. Destroy or avoid the defense drones, reach the beacon on the other side. Your ship must survive with minimal damage. Time limit? Asked Dr. Park So-young. 2 hours, said Secretary Veltar. Most species need that long just to get halfway through. And weapons? Asked Kim Tae-ho. Use whatever your ship has, said Thexmar. The drones are programmed to use standard galactic military protocols. They should be a good match for your technology. The way he said technology made it clear he thought human weapons would be inferior. We understand, said Captain Lee Woo-jin. We will return to our ship to prepare. As the humans left the chamber, excited whispers filled the air. Aliens began placing bets on how quickly the human ship would be destroyed. The Cathera representative clicked her mandibles in, what might have been laughter. 2 minutes, she said. That ship will not last 2 minutes against our drones. I give them 5, said another alien. They seemed confident. Only Overlord Thexmar was quiet. Something about the humans bothered him. They had accepted the test too easily. New species were supposed to be afraid. Meanwhile, back on the Sol's A Pride, the human crew prepared for the trial. Captain Lee Woo-jin walked onto the bridge where his officers waited at their stations. Status report, he said. All systems normal, Captain, said Lieutenant Park Min-ho, the weapons officer. Defense systems are ready. Navigation is prepared, added Lieutenant Kim So-jin from her station. I have mapped the asteroid field. It is challenging, but not impossible. What about the drones? Asked the captain. Commander Kim Tae-ho pulled up a holographic display. Standard Vexari military design, predictable attack patterns, good shields and weapons, but they follow programming instead of thinking. And our weapons? More than sufficient, said Kim Tae-ho with a small smile. Dr. Park So-young entered the bridge carrying her datapad. Captain, I have been monitoring alien communications. They are broadcasting this test across the galaxy. Millions of beings will be watching. Good, said Lee Woo-jin. Let them watch. The Broken Ring was a field of asteroids that had once been a planet. Some rocks were as small as houses. Others were as big as cities. They spun and tumbled through space in complex patterns that changed constantly. Hidden among the asteroids were 50 defense drones. Each one was the size of a small fighter ship. They carried plasma cannons, missile launchers, and energy shields. They were programmed to work together like a pack of wolves. Soul's Pride approached the edge of the asteroid field. On Nexus Station, thousands of aliens crowded around viewing screens. Betting pools reached record amounts. Most bets were on how quickly the humans would fail. "Beginning approach," announced Lieutenant Kim So-jin over the communication system. The human ship moved into the asteroid field like a dancer entering a ballroom. It slipped between rocks that should have crushed it. It spun and twisted through gaps that seemed too small. Watching aliens fell silent as they realized they were seeing something impossible. "How is it moving like that?" whispered Hexavi. "The ship is too big to be so agile," said Secretary Veltar. On the Soul's Pride bridge, Captain Li Wu-jin watched calmly as his ship performed maneuvers that defied physics. The secret was not just skill, it was technology the galaxy had never seen. "First drone contact," announced Lieutenant Park Min-ho. A defense drone appeared from behind a large asteroid, its weapons charged as it locked onto the human ship. Before it could fire, a beam of blue light struck it. The drone simply vanished, leaving only a small cloud of glowing particles. "What was that?" demanded Thexmar, jumping to his feet. More. Drones appeared, attacking in coordinated groups. The Soul's Pride moved through them like water flowing around stones. Its weapons fired with impossible accuracy. Each shot destroyed a target completely, leaving no wreckage behind. "Impossible," breathed the Kethra representative. "Our drones are supposed to be invincible." "They're weapons," said another alien. "What kind of energy signature is that?" On the human ship, the crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this kind of mission many times. The alien drones were more advanced than Earth's early enemies, but the principles were the same. "Halfway through the field," reported Kim So-jin. 37 drones destroyed, 13 remaining. "Ship status?" asked the captain. "All systems normal," said Commander Kim Tae-ho. "No damage, no stress on the hull." The final 13 drones tried a desperate attack. They came from all directions at once, hoping to overwhelm the human ship with firepower. Instead, the Soul's Pride spun like a top, its weapons firing in all directions. In less than 10 seconds, all the drones were gone. "Clear path to the beacon," announced Kim So-jin. The Soul's Pride glided through the last section of the asteroid field. It reached the beacon and came to a stop, floating motionless among the rocks. The entire test had taken 17 minutes. The Bear council chamber was completely silent. 47 different alien species stared at their screens in shock. The most difficult test in galactic history had been completed faster than anyone thought possible. 17 minutes, whispered Secretary Veltar. 0 damage to their ship, added Hexavi. 50 drones destroyed without missing a single shot, said the Kethra representative. Overlord Thexmar sat heavily in his chair. His metal skin had turned almost black. For 300 years, the Vexari had been the strongest military force in the galaxy. Today he had watched a single human ship make his best weapons look like toys. Captain Li Wu-jin's voice came over the communication system. Test completed. Returning to station. As the Soul's Pride began its journey back, one thought filled every alien mind in the council chamber. If this was what humans could do with one ship, what could they do with 15? The answer, they feared, was anything they wanted. The council chamber had never been so quiet. News of the human victory in the Trial of Stars had spread across the galaxy in minutes. Communication systems buzzed with reports, analysis, and panic. Species that had never heard of humans before were suddenly very interested in making contact. Overlord Thexmar sat in his chair like a statue. His 4 arms hung at his sides, and his metal skin had turned a dull gray color. For the first time in his long life, he felt small and weak. 17 minutes, he said quietly. Our best test. 17 minutes. Secretary Veltar was reading reports on his datapad. His 3 eyes moved quickly as new information came in. The military high command is asking for immediate analysis of human weapons technology, he said. What shall I tell them? Asked Counselor Hexavi. Tell them we know nothing, said Thexmar bitterly. Tell them we are children playing with toys while the humans have real weapons. Through the viewing windows, they could see the Soul's Pride docking at the station again. The other human ships remained in their formation, silent and watching. They had not moved since arriving, but somehow they felt more threatening now. They are coming back, said the Kithera representative. Her clicking sounds were nervous now instead of amused. The main doors opened and the 4 humans entered the chamber. They walked with the same calm confidence as before, but now it felt different. Now the aliens knew what that confidence meant. Captain Li Wu-jin stopped in the center of the room. The test is complete, he said simply. Yes, said Thexmar. It is. Ambassador Choi Hai-jin stepped forward. We hope this proves that humans are capable of defending ourselves. Now can we discuss partnership? Partnership. The word that had seemed so impossible an hour ago now sounded reasonable. The aliens looked at each other, each wondering what this meant for their own people. What kind of partnership? Asked Secretary Veltar carefully. Trade agreements, said Dr. Park So-young, opening her datapad. Cultural exchange programs, scientific cooperation, mutual defense treaties. Mutual defense? Asked Hexavi. You would help defend our worlds? If you would help defend ours, said Commander Kim Tae-ho. Several aliens laughed, but it was nervous laughter. The idea of humans needing their protection seemed silly now. What about territory? Asked the Kithera representative. Do you claim any systems? We claim our home system and any empty systems we choose to settle, said Captain Li Wu-jin. We have no interest in taking worlds that belong to others. And if others try to take what belongs to you? Asked Thexmar. Kim Tae-ho smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. Then they will learn why that is a bad idea. A technician ran into the chamber, his many legs carrying him quickly to Secretary Veltar. He whispered something that made Veltar's eyes widen. What is it? Demanded Thexmar. Long-range sensors, said Veltar shakily. They are detecting more ships. Many more ships. How many? Asked Hexavi. Over 100. All human design. They are approaching from the dark zone. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in dozens of languages. Some called for immediate military mobilization. Others demanded emergency evacuation of the station. Through it all, the humans remained calm. They showed no surprise at this news. They had been expecting it. Did you think, said Captain Li Wu-jin, his voice cutting through the chaos, that Earth would reveal all of its strength in one day? The aliens fell silent. They stared at the humans with new understanding. This was not first contact. This was an announcement. Humanity was not asking to join the galactic community. They were informing the galaxy that they had arrived. What do you want? Asked Thexmar quietly. Peace, said Ambassador Choi Hye-jin. But peace between equals, not between masters and servants. You are talking about changing everything, said Secretary Veltar. The galactic order has been stable for centuries. Has it? Asked Dr. Park So-young. Or has it been stagnant? She activated her datapad, and a hologram appeared showing galactic star charts. In the last 100 years, how many new technologies have been developed? How many new worlds have been explored? How much has your civilization grown? The aliens looked uncomfortable. The truth was that galactic civilization had become lazy. The strong species controlled everything, and the weak species accepted it. Nobody pushed for change or improvement. Humans believe in progress, said Captain Li Wu-jin. We believe that today should be better than yesterday, and tomorrow should be better than today. And how do you plan to achieve this progress? Asked Hexavi suspiciously. By working together, said Choi Hye-jin. By sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. By exploring new worlds instead of fighting over old ones. By helping each species become the best they can be. Pretty words, said Thexmar. But what if some species prefer the old ways? Commander Kim Tae-ho stepped forward. Then they are free to keep the old ways, but they will not force those ways on others. The threat was polite but clear. Humanity would not accept the current system of strong species bullying weak ones. They had the power to enforce that decision. "The fleet approaching," said the Kithara representative nervously. "What are their intentions?" "To ensure that this first meeting goes well," said Li Wu-jin, "and to show that Earth is serious about protecting its friends." "And your enemies?" asked Thexmar. "We prefer not to have enemies," said Choi Hyojin. "But if some species insist on being enemies, we will treat them accordingly." A new technician entered the chamber, this one looking excited rather than frightened. "Council members, the human fleet has arrived at the edge of our sensor range. They are beautiful." On the main screen, images appeared of the approaching human fleet. Each ship was different, but all shared the same elegant design principles. They moved through space in perfect formation, their dark hulls seeming to bend starlight around them. 112 ships, breathed Secretary Veltar. All different classes, fighters, cruisers, battleships, and some designs we do not recognize. "And this is just one fleet," said Dr. Park So-young casually. Several aliens sat down heavily. The implications were staggering. If humanity had multiple fleets of this size and technology level, they could reshape galactic politics overnight. "What happens now?" asked Hexavi. "Now we talk," said Ambassador Choi Hyojin. "We discuss trade agreements. We plan joint exploration missions. We establish communication protocols between our species. As equals," added Captain Li Wu-jin. "As equals," agreed Thexmar reluctantly. Over the next several hours, the real negotiations began. The humans were patient but firm. They would not accept junior status in any agreement. They would not follow rules they had no voice in making. They would not be told which systems they could or could not explore. In return, they offered technology that could revolutionize galactic civilization, medical advances that could extend life for all species, energy systems that could power entire worlds, defensive technologies that could protect against any known threat. "You are offering us gifts that could change everything," said Secretary Veltar. "What do you want in return?" "Respect," said Captain Li Wu-jin simply. "The right to live as we choose. The promise that no species will try to control humanity." "And if we refuse?" asked the Kethera representative. Commander Kim Tae-ho looked out the viewing window at the human fleet. "Then you refuse. We will not force friendship on anyone, but we will also not allow anyone to threaten us." As the day ended, agreements were reached. Not final treaties, but the beginning of new relationships. The Galactic Council would be restructured to include humanity as a founding member of a new alliance. Species that wanted to join this alliance would be welcome. Those that preferred the old ways could keep them, as long as they did not interfere with the new order. Captain Li Wu-jin stood before the council one last time. "Today marks the beginning of a new age, Bon," he said. "An age of cooperation instead of domination. An age of exploration instead of stagnation. An age where every species has the chance to reach its full potential." "And if this new age fails?" asked Thexmar. "Then we will try something else," said Li Wu-jin with a smile. "That is what humans do. We keep trying until we get it right." As the Soul's Pride prepared to depart Nexus Station, the human fleet maintained its position. They would stay until the new agreements were formalized. They would stay until everyone understood that humanity was not going anywhere. Ambassador Choi Hyojin transmitted the final message to Earth. "First contact successful. The galaxy is ready for change. Humanity's place among the stars is secure." The response from Earth was simple. "Well done. Come home." But as the Soul's Pride began its journey back to the Dark Zone, everyone knew that this was not an ending. It was a beginning. The galaxy had been asleep for too long. Now, with humanity's arrival, it was finally waking up. The age of human expansion had begun.